right, God. Well, I got another question, God. You gave me a bill the other day. In terms of like your relationship with Shamgauud.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
On that bill, I told you see how God.
Yeah. I thought that. I was like, I ain't heard that before. So if you could.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll reiterate. Yeah. So that was like. Right before he passed, and during the '80s, I was back and forth.
So that was around the same time he wrote the article.
Yeah, so around that, you know. All right, so listen to this one. When I didn't really meet Shamgauud, Universal Shamgauud, until the late '70s. I was around earlier than that, but I didn't see him until
you got knowledge in.
No, I got knowledge of God knowledge.
And God knowledge.
Right.
Okay.
But you know.
And you met him like
later on, yeah, because again, when you get knowledge, you're not really like once you get it. I know everybody, I know everything. No, you're growing it, right? God, great. So met him later, but so when I get the universal flag definition, I get this is what I get. The universal flag of the 5% consists of 7 sun, moon, and stars. Right? And then it goes into, I remember that part. The universal flag of the 5% consists of 7 sun, moon, and stars, and then it went into the 7 sun, moon, and stars. Then it went into, the long points from the short points and how many degrees and the 22 and whatever, and then the building with gods, like I didn't get. Because I didn't read that till later, right? Shamgauud's or build with him and get his definition to what the white meant on the flag, right? So when we were growing, we understand the black man, right, is divine, and black is dominant. In fact, light illuminates from that, right? So when I see the white, I see the illumination of the light and truth manifested from the blackness. That's what I see that as, right? So built with him, we was across the street. It was like a handful of us, you know what I mean? In front of St. Nick projects. So so I asked the God, man, because again, I got the honor to hear him tell me. God took it all the way back. I didn't even know who, until fast forward, Kim was until later.
Okay.
Because all this he brings into play.
Well, Akim.
Yeah.
Yeah. He introduced.
Yeah, he talked about the 7. The history.
Yeah.
Okay. The history. He gives us, because it was a handful of us, listening to him, because the first thing I said, peace, God. I gave my name. Hey, God, listen. Let me ask you a question. This is our definition of the universal flag, and by ours, I don't, not to take from,
he is the
right, God, and I didn't even get the Son of Man thing yet.
Okay, right.
He's giving that to me verbatively, right? And he's going through. I'm like, okay, bet, the light, that whole bill. So I'm like, okay. So in essence, when I asked him, I said, God, man, so the 90 degrees and the 45 and whatever. The older God's bills were always. I never understood that until later. Dumar dropped it on me about supreme signs and city signs. But make sure it ain't Pac-Man. That Pac-Man thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? So make it make sense.
And the Pac-Man was like the firstborn Muslim. Like when they was
right.
Like,
right.
Was the way to
right. Don't mix Salute and Tampa.
Right.
In essence, that's what the God was saying.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I, no question. And I had the honor to build with him. So that's why, there was a little pushback. Yeah, it was.
And pushback in terms.
Pushback was because okay. So when I bring it, okay, it's my big brother. You know what I mean? So of course, I'm coming like. Ask some great questions. Because she ain't got nothing to play with. Where'd you get that from? Show and prove that.
That's what you.
Yeah, he's asking us that now.
He's asking you that.
Right. Cause he listening. But one thing I'll give my big. He didn't. He drew it up. I'm gonna listen to what you're saying first. Where'd you get that from? Right? Because you're talking to the author. Right? So and to keep it real, I'm like, oh shit, now here we go. I done did something wrong or whatever. But in essence, what we made manifest to him was, God, listen, man. According to the enlightener, wisdom is the way, right? So, as long as the words, right, are not changing the idea, because you have multiple variations of how today's mathematics going to go.
Right.
But the theme you're going to hear, elevation, building, you'll hear all kinds of, you'll hear eloquently, articulately, scientifically, historically. Right. You hear, but there'll be different ways you'll hear it.
Right.
It's not everybody's coming from the same script.
Right.
Word for word.
Right.
I mean, we might have came from that foundation.
Right.
But we drew it up as we grew and developed. Such is the case with our understanding. You know what I mean, of the flag.
Right, because you were saying about what you was mentioning, like the 45 degree, like y'all was the one who came.
Yeah, we came. Well, God, because he wasn't doing that. That in the 70s. Like we were introduced the 90 degrees and the 45 degrees and all that. God, yeah, that wasn't where that I don't even see that in the Son of Man. Right. Not saying that I mean you see it.
Right.
You do see. You know what I mean? I'm talking about its introduction to us. Right.
Like you built with him about that, like those degrees, like those.
Yeah, no, yeah, and so in fact, it was this god named Magnetic that went there with that one. I when we went across the street, I went, Pete's God, how you doing? And then I gave him the definition of the universal flag of the 5% consists of the 7 sun, moon, and stars, and then boom, and
he said, where you get that from?
Yeah, ladies listening, where'd you get that from? Right, you know what I mean. So my thing was, okay, God, it's not right. You know what I mean? Like we had a boilerplate script that we're
Is it wrong? Is it
right?
Wrong?
Right, but no, it wasn't.
It wasn't wrong.
Right, right.
So
it's just
manifest. It wasn't wrong. Okay.
Right. But he did go into God, certain things need to be tweaked. Because you had to be mindful. The God Magnetic was going into the points, the 22 points. You know what I mean?
So brothers are drawing up their own understanding and building with the author of the flag and going through the signs with them.
Yeah, I remember the guards, because it's 7 points on the 7. Because we're talking about all the points. So the guards were arguing about the point inside the 7, and the technical. I get. We architects, so you want to make sure
it's
that
mathematically correct.
Right. Is this correct? You know what I mean? And in those instances, God, I'm kind of vague with what his reply was with that. Other than he did a lot of building about the origin, because my question was, because I didn't know. Other than that's all shame, God. God, can you give me boom peace? And I had that moment and opportunity to be able for him to give me his origin. You know what I mean? So and then that same bill too. You know what I mean? Because I read what I did read was. Well, that was from him. That was later. That wasn't during. That was later. About when Allah took him, around and told him, about the.
You built with him personally about that.
Yeah. Well, no, God. I read that like everybody else, right? He did, but he goes into, of course, he's commissioned by Allah to do that. You know what I mean? And then they went, in Medina. And then the different variations of the flag.
Right.
You know what I mean? That I learned about that later. You know what I mean? But but not now. But now going back to when I said we came up because we came up with the definition, right? And then in reading, right? I'm reading. I'm saying, well, I don't see the 45 or the 90 and whatever. Because I remember when I first got it, because when we were getting the flag, it was important that you knew a significant amount of your lessons before you got that.
Right.
Whether you liked it, whether you did that or not. Most people, that's how they got it.
Now it's 120.
Yeah, right. That most had to do that first.
Well, and it's interesting because Allah B said in his time that it wasn't.
No,
like
it
that.
wasn't. No, absolutely, God, absolutely.
See, a lot of people don't realize that when we first got the flags, it was not one of us had to quote a degree to the Father. Not one.
Right. So now that's what I was wanted to ask you about.
You know what he asked? What he asked us? Our name. What we want? What you want on your flag? What name do you want on your flag, son? And we told him, and it was a sister recorded it. So not one of us
had to quote a degree.
Had to quote a degree to Allah.
So when did it become a requirement?
It never became a requirement until some brothers instituted for whatever reason.
Right.
And of course, as I got older, there's certain things you unlearn. Right, certain things you unlearn. I get that, and that was peace too. There wasn't nothing wrong with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with like brothers going through one, because I mean that's kind of like you qualifying yourself to actually wear the
what you're doing is also right. You in that, of course, yes, God. But you also want to, if nothing else, like where are you at in your lessons? But what do you know about the flag? See, that's very important. If you don't know nothing else, know something about this flag.
Right.
Because I'm sure I wasn't even there, but I'm more than sure. And that's crazy. I know the statement I'm getting ready to make. Yeah, no question, because the teaching was done differently back in the year one. Here, God gave his man Willie and them flags.
Yeah, right.
And all them, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I mean, I get it, and in fact, some people got their name for them. In fact, my the brother who I take the name from, Allah, so I got his name like that from his flag.
Oh, so he just went and picked the flag.
Picked the flag.
His name was on the flag. And
Allah gave him that name. You know what I mean? But there's some teaching about the wearing of that flag. Yeah, no question about that. Okay, no, it wasn't. You got to know 120 and whatever. I mean, the guards back then had their hot seats and all that, and back then and whatever. That's where its origin comes from.
Right.
But you make no mistake, God. Make no mistake that there was no just wear the flag and keep it moving.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There was some teaching that went on with that.
You must do your own research, as I did.
If Mecca did this.